One thing that affects cognitive and language and all other areas of development in early childhood is early childhood education. So let's look a little bit at the different models of early education that are out there that parents might encounter, so you can learn a little bit more about each of those. And so I guess first to start off with is it's really important to look at quality. So your textbook lists 10 different standards from the National Association for the Education of Young Children that parents should really examine within the programs they're looking at for their children. So are those positive relationships amongst children and adults promoted? Does the curriculum support learning and development in all the different areas? Are the teaching appropriate approaches developmentally, culturally, and linguistically appropriate? Do they use assessment to provide information on how children are learning and developing? Are the health and nutrition of children promoted, and are they being protected from illness and injury? Do teachers possess the qualification, knowledge, and commitment to do their work? Are there collaborative relationships between the families and program? Are there relationships with agencies and institutions in the community to help support the program? Are the indoor and outdoor environments safe and well maintained? And are the people that are in charge, the leadership and management personnel, well qualified, effective, and do they make sure everything stays in compliance with licensure and maybe accreditation standards? So that those are really helpful guidelines for parents to choose programs, but then you really have to look at the philosophy behind the programs. And so the textbook compiles some information about some of the more popular programs, and these are kind of overall guidance as to whether or not a program is actually truly the model that they're identifying with. That's not always the case, but this is good information to look at. So the Montessori method was created by Dr. Maria Montessori back in Italy quite a while ago. And one of the main characteristics that makes it stand out from other programs is that they really prefer to use the word work instead of play. So children's work would be what we would call play, but they refer to it as work. There's a lot of focus on individual learning. It was one of the first times when Montessori created the method that they looked at creating things that were children-sized. So now that's pretty common, but that was a hallmark of the Montessori method. Materials are carefully chosen and introduced first by the teacher. So the teacher gives a little lesson on how to use the materials, and then the materials are provided to the children to explore independently. And you can see in the picture that the children are working on tasks with different materials that are Montessori materials, specifically self-correcting materials that are kind of designed to be used a specific way that kind of gives the child feedback about what they're doing. And they're doing it on mats, and that defines their workspace. And so that is kind of their protected workspace, and they use placemats when they do the work on the table. The Montessori method features mixed age grouping, and teachers in a true Montessori program would be certified. The Waldorf method was created by Rudolf Steiner, and it's tends to be a really beautiful, aesthetically appealing environment for children to be in. It focuses on the whole child and really looks at delaying some of the more academic type of experiences and that focus until children are a little bit older. It really looks at connecting to nature, the senses, and the imagination, a lot of play, large blocks of time for that. Protecting the children with the environment, and so it's not uncommon to see the Waldorf programs ask parents to keep their children off of screens and technology. They use looping so that children stay with their teachers for several years, and again, it should be something that teachers are certified in. So Reggio Emilia is actually a city in Italy, so it's important to note that that's not a person. The Reggio Emilia approach was founded by Loris Malaguzzi, and while we can't implement Reggio Emilia anywhere but in Reggio Emilia, we can be influenced by it or inspired by it, and so it's important to kind of recognize some of the hallmarks of their approach. One of those is that children and teachers co-construct the curriculum, and they really look at it that as emerging from what the children are engaged in. Teachers are researchers and facilitators, so they're there to kind of provide information and resources to children. The environment is looked at as the third teacher and really focuses on beauty and order. And unfortunately, I couldn't find any licensed photographs of classrooms in Reggio Emilia, so I just had to settle for a picture of the city itself. But I would encourage you to do some Googling and find some of the images of Reggio Emilia classrooms. Children's learning is documented through different methods, including what they call the 100 languages of children. So children don't just represent what they know with their words, but they also may be able to create that in different artistic formats. They might be able to dramatize that. They might be able to sing that. They might be able to do other things that show you how they understand and perceive the world. They have an atelier, which is an art studio with an atelierista, which is an artist that instructs the child in how to use the arts. And it's important to note that this atelierista is not a teacher, but an artist that actually comes in and teaches children really genuine art methods. A hallmark of this is that they believe children are competent and capable. In this program, children also stay together for 3 years. Parents are partnered with the teachers, and the community is seen as an extension of the school. So you can see how some of those qualities could be implemented in a program anywhere, but those are really hallmarks of the Reggio Emilia approach. We also have the creative curriculum, which is a commercial program. This happens to be a classroom on an Air Force base that's using it, that I found an openly licensed image for. And it was created by Diane Trister Dodge, and then some other people have joined those efforts. So if you look at their materials now, there are additional authors on those. The focus of this program is on children's play and self-selected activities. The environment is arranged into learning areas, and they give large blocks of time for self-selected play. Projects are the basis for their curriculum, and it is a research-based system that includes an assessment system. So this is one version of a boxed curriculum that could be implemented in a developmentally appropriate way. Often we struggle to find curriculum like that that is developmentally appropriate, but this can be used in developmentally appropriate ways. We also have the Bank Street model, which was created by Lucy Sprague Mitchell. It's also referred to as the developmental interactionist approach. And it is in a specific location in New York. And so this is the outside of the school. It's the only openly licensed image that I could find for this PowerPoint and mini lecture. But I wanted to kind of show you this. The environment in this program is also arranged into learning centers with a focus on hands-on experience with long periods of time given for children to explore and play. The teacher uses questions to further children's exploration. Blocks are a primary material in the classroom, and they may actually take up a significant portion of the classroom if the space is smaller, and they use field trips frequently. I remember finding an example that I used to share with my children, or with my students, that there were children that were interested in creating a pizza parlor in their classroom out of blocks, but they didn't have enough context. So because they're right in the middle of the city, the teacher took them down the street to a local pizza parlor. They took notes. They had clipboards. They took notes on what they were. And then they went back into the classroom and created a pizza parlor based on that field trip and that experience. And so there's a lot of great information from the Bank Street College about their teacher education program, and it also includes K through 12 educators. So I'd encourage you to explore that further if your interest has been piqued. And then I also, the one last method to look at is the high scope method. And again, I couldn't find any open images of high scope classrooms, but this is the Hutchinson House and High Scope Education Research Foundation. So for you to look at while I talk. This program was created by David Wiegert. It also has defined learning areas. It has 8 different content areas with 58 key developmental indicators. They really look at the consistency of daily routine, and they use a plan, do, review sequence in which children create a plan of what they're going to do during their free choice time. They then act on that plan, and then after that time period of playing and exploring, they reflect on the results of their work and their plan. Teachers are considered partners, and they use the child observation record to help assess children and plan the curriculum. and they have a 6-step process that helps teach children conflict resolution. And then the last program that I wanted to touch on in this mini lecture in PowerPoint is Head Start. So Head Start is an income-based program in which children have to be income eligible to qualify. And it was part of President Lyndon Johnson's War on Poverty. It serves about 1 million children. There are more children that it could serve, but we don't have the capacity. It provides not only education to children, but services for families. And there's kind of conflicting information about effectiveness of Head Start, but really it was created to try and make sure that children that come from impoverished backgrounds don't start school behind, as they might if they didn't have that intervention of early education. Our book also talks a little bit about different areas of learning that are influenced by early childhood education, including math, reading, and brain maturation.